If you clicked on this video, it's likely you already have strong opinions on anime dubs. According to a recent unscientific polling of my subscribers, about 69% of you, nice, watch subs, 21% of you watch dubs, 6% of you raw dog your anime, and 4% of you are sad, uncultured Philistines who don't watch anime at all. Now, I used to be part of the 69% of anime fans who demanded anime in its purest form, and I would only watch the English dub of an anime to mock it. Even though it was literally an English dub on broadcast TV that got me into anime in the first place, I considered it a cringy part of my dark past that I would rather pretend never happened in the first place.
Shouldn't you be going home and doing your homework, meatball head?
I just figured out who's gonna be the inspiration for my first love letter.
Don't mention exams. I'm so far behind, I'm probably going to get an A-.
Face it, you're no match for the power of the Negamoon. I've seen the future and you're not in it.
Look, the manga was made for kids. Just accept the magic brooch.
Oh my gosh, it's so pretty!
The Deke dub of Sailor Moon put the idea into my mind that anime dubs were badly acted, heavily censored, and unfaithful to the source material. And anecdotally, from what I hear from die-hard anime otaku online to casual anime viewers I know IRL, a lot of anime fans today still regard anime dubs in this way. There's a good chance that you, yes you, also believe these things about anime dubs.
Bumble-ding, battle-bing, Zoy's bat-moo.
Amara, Michelle!
Fantastic! You're the best cousins in the world!
These donuts are great! Jelly-filled are my favorite! Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut!
What are you wearing that for?
I was at the general strike, marching for a $25 an hour minimum wage and a Green New Deal.
Go get him, comrade.
Okay, none of that shit is in the manga.
Well, if you bitches love canon so much, neither was your relationship.
God damn it, fine.
But obviously, from the title of this video, I no longer feel that way about anime dubs. I think anime dubs are good, actually. My change of heart came about for two major reasons. One, learning Japanese taught me that my dislike of dubs stemmed from a lot of false ideas I had to unlearn. And two, English language anime dubs have legitimately gotten better over the past few decades. The first point I have covered across many videos on this channel, but it all comes down to personal experience. At the end of the day, there is an element of subjectivity to wherever you fall on the subs versus dubs debate, and no amount of facts or logic will change your mind. If you prefer subs, you aren't wrong. If you prefer dubs, you aren't wrong. No matter how objectively good or bad subs or dubs are, you are going to have your personal preferences, and you will tend to gravitate towards whatever is more familiar and more comfortable to you. What I hope to accomplish in this video is to show the 69% of you who prefer subs what dubs have to offer, how dubs have absolutely improved over the past few decades, especially the past 5 years, and any opinions you developed from some dub you saw on Toonami or 4Kids or even the Funimation dubs of the 20-teens should be reconsidered. And you don't have to take my word for it. I interviewed 3 people who work in various roles in the anime dubbing industry. Marin Miller, a veteran voice actor and script adapter, Katrina Leonoudakis, a script adapter, veteran translator and project manager, and Kayleigh McKee, a voice actor. From them, we'll learn how anime dubbing has improved, what the state of the industry is now, and what you can do to help make anime dubbing even better in the future. Part 1. Unpacking our anti-dub bias. Like I said, I have unpacked my own former biases about anime and the Japanese language in other videos on this channel, but since a lot of you are new, I figured it was worth a little refresher. So here are the 2 main reasons that I, as a younger anime fan, was anti-dub. Subjectively, these reasons for preferring subs over dubs are valid, and you aren't stupid or wrong if you agree with them. I just hope to show that there's a little more nuance that if you don't understand Japanese or if you haven't worked in the industry, you might be missing. Argument A. But anime is Japanese! A lot of anti-dub sentiment boils down to the belief that anime is Japanese. Therefore, it is best enjoyed in its purest form of Japanese with English subtitles. But here is a question that may seem odd, but I ask it in earnest. Is anime Japanese? Just look at Solo Leveling, an incredibly popular anime that was based off a Korean web novel. Its protagonist is not Japanese. Its author is not Japanese. The original language in which it was written is not Japanese. Is it anime? Most of you would say yes, and I agree with you. But is Solo Leveling Japanese? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say No. It is no more authentic watching Solo Leveling in Japanese with English subtitles than it would be to watch an English dub of it. Arguably, the most authentic way of enjoying Solo Leveling would be the Korean dub, especially if whoever produced that adaptation took the care to copy dialogue as it appeared in the original Korean source material.
이런 곳에서 명줄이 끊어질 수는 없지. 시작해볼까요? 다가올 그때를 위해서. 헌터가 헌터라 불리는 이유. 진짜 사냥의 시작이다.
Now, stay with me on this train of thought. Is the Anne of Green Gables anime? Yes. Is it Japanese? No, it is not. The source material for Anne of Green Gables is a series of books written at the turn of the 20th century by Canadian author Lucy Maud Montgomery. I read them in their original language of English when I was a kid, and many of you probably did too. The source material was adapted many times over into English language films and series, and it was translated into Japanese and adapted into an anime twice. But its source material is in English, and its characters are all English-speaking Canadians, not Japanese, so it would arguably be most authentic to watch the Anne of Green Gables anime dubbed in English rather than the Japanese dub with English subtitles.
You look rather cheery today yourself. What's on your mind? Something good happen?
Well, I guess Gilbert Blythe will finally be returning to school today.
Gilbert!
He had to leave Avonlea for a few years when his father fell ill.
It feels like forever. How have you been? Carrots.
Mean, hateful boy!
Now here's a question. Is Frieren Japanese? I'm gonna run up this hill, say no, it is not Japanese, and I'm gonna die happily up here knowing I'm right. Well, yes, the source material was written by a Japanese person in the Japanese language. It takes place in a pseudo-German fantasy land where all the characters are probably speaking Common or Elvish or hell, even German. They aren't speaking Japanese.
俺って結構強そうに見えるし、はったりもうまいんだぜ。
悪人顔ですしね。
うるせえ。
But Sarah, I clearly hear them speaking Japanese. No, think. What language are these characters actually speaking? It's not Japanese. The Japanese they speak in the manga and anime is merely a translation of what they were originally saying.
You just called me a grandma. That's offense 2 after the hag slip. I draw the line at 3.
This logic also applies to other popular anime like Delicious in Dungeon, Vinland Saga, Spy Family, and Attack on Titan. If you really think about it, these series do not take place in Japan and the characters in them are not Japanese. So the characters themselves aren't actually speaking Japanese. Japanese was just the language their creators used since it happened to be their native language. All the time we watch shows and movies in English without even realizing it's a dub and that technically these characters would not be speaking English. Did you watch K-pop Demon Hunters in Korean? Did you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender in ancient Chinese or Japanese or Tibetan? Did you watch The Lord of the Rings English dub or did you watch it in the original Westron with English subtitles? Why are the rules different for anime? The long answer involves an anti-dub bias entrenched in North America, a long history of North American anime fans sharing bootlegged fansubs and developing an insular culture around the Japanese language, and Orientalism, which is well beyond the scope of this video. But the short answer is, the rules shouldn't be different for anime. It should be just as normal to watch the English dub of Dandadan as it is to watch K-pop Demon Hunters in English. If that feels weird to you, your feelings are valid. Feelings don't care about facts, nor should they.
열받는데 좋긴 하네.
중독성 있어.
Do anything for her! I turn into a monster for her!
Kick all their asses! Fight.
Let me reiterate, there is nothing wrong with having a subjective preference for Japanese dubs with English subtitles. I just hope that I've challenged you to reconsider your anime viewing habits and to acknowledge that they are just that, habits. And habits can be changed. Argument B. But English dubs are just bad. Everybody knows that.
a lot of stuff, basically everything that gets made in Hollywood, is now being distributed across the world. Living in Japan, if you go to a movie theater, half the stuff will be stuff that's made in Japan by Japanese producers and scriptwriters. The other half will be stuff coming straight from Hollywood that's either subtitled or dubbed. And this has been consistent over the last 60, 80, even 100 years of Hollywood films, is they get produced in Hollywood in English and then brought overseas or out to other countries for those audiences to enjoy.
I spoke with Katrina Leonoudakis, a localization manager and translator with over 10 years' experience, to better understand why North Americans tend to have a bias against dubbing. The short answer is we just don't have a long history of watching dubbed film or TV on this continent. But that isn't the case for the rest of the world.
So if you look nowadays in the 2020s at these dubbing industries, especially in places such as Italy and France, their dubbing industries just for films and TV shows coming out of the US are absolutely incredible. They have established voice actors for certain actors. So for example, like there's an established Italian voice of Tom Hanks. Anytime Tom Hanks is in a movie, that's the same guy. He's going to be playing it. They're kind of regarded as celebrities in their own right because they have established themselves as this voice. And they're always appearing at different movie release events. You might see pictures of him with Tom Hanks because he is basically Tom Hanks to the entire
Tom Hanks.
Absolutely. It's very funny when you say it out loud, but this is his career. And obviously he does other voice work as well. But because we have this huge industry, we have directors who have been dubbing for 60, 70, 80 years. I remember working on a project when I was working with Amazon Prime. We had a director where we had to schedule very carefully around because he was almost 80, 85 years old. But he'd been dubbing for so long. So many people on the project were like, we will not dub this TV show unless he's on it because he is like the Martin Scorsese of Italian dubbing. We want him. And not only do the actors want him, the Italian audiences want him as well.
Mi chiamo Forrest Gump. Mamma diceva sempre: la vita è uguale a una scatola di cioccolatini. Sai mai quello che ti capita.
Merde. Merde. Que faites-vous encore debout, mademoiselle?
Merde.
Non, on ne dit pas ça. Il n'y a que maman qui prononce ce mot. Elle l'a inventé, il lui appartient.
Warte mal. Darfst du überhaupt hier sein? Okay.
Im alten Bümmelrasen? Oh nee, das ist doch ein Witz.
Wir haben einfach nicht genug Geld.
Und wenn wir zusammenlegen?
Was denn zusammenlegen? Was machst du hier?
Ich geh shoppen. Das ist ihr neuer Look. Gefällt er dir?
おちびちゃん、あんたが必要だ。一緒に来てもらおう。
お嬢ちゃん、興味ない。
おっと、ウイスキーでインポか。ウルヴァリンも40を超えると。
やめておけ。
So these dubbing industries in Europe and other parts of the world are so well established. They have such love from their audiences. There's a lot more money going into the industry. But not only that, there's so much more knowledge, the development. They know how they want to dub things. They know when something difficult comes in, how they want to dub it. I mean, it's because of this experience that they've been able to create this very robust, very technically proficient, and very, in a word, really good dubbing industry.
Dovete cominciare nel modo appropriato.
Cari gentili lettori.
Now compare that rich dubbing history in the rest of the world to the dubbing industry in North America.
Right. Tiger Creed! Let me. Tiger Creed!
We still joke about nowadays how when we brought the Godzilla films over, people still make fun of how bad those dubs were, where you have the people moving their mouths and no one's saying anything.
And all of that prosperity I built is now being destroyed by the same dinosaur at this moment. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Now we'll learn who's the best. Got you now. Hi. Why? I'm bleeding, making me the victor.
Dog me ah.
We have a lot of older foreign films, not just from Japan, but from China, from Korea, from France, etc., where the dubbing just really is not good. And that's not to say that they didn't do a good job on purpose. They did the best that they could, but because so many films that people want to see are made in Hollywood, we just did not have that much experience actually dubbing or actually doing that stuff. We thought, oh, we need to do it. Then they reinvented the wheel in America, and we just didn't have that much experience.
For further insight on the skills and techniques it takes to create a good dub, Marin Miller, a script adapter and voice actor since 2006, breaks it down here.
You know, studios would have their favorites that they would call in, and because dubbing is a very niche skill, it requires a lot of technical understanding in terms of how to actually do it. Because when you're dubbing something, it's not just a matter of, okay, I'm going to say the line, and if it sounds convincing, great. You have the musical and timing aspect that is also involved, where, okay, we have the track underneath that we have to match in terms of timing and intention. And also when you have lip flap involved, like for, animation has lip flap as well, but it gets even more complicated when we talk about live action dubbing. But for anime, you still have rhythm to the lip flaps, the syllables that are coming out of their mouth, and the way the mouth moves. And so if you don't match those requirements, then it slows down the process.
So long story short, we North Americans did not have much experience with dubbing in general. And it wasn't until the 1980s, and especially the 1990s, that anime started to emerge as a niche nerd culture in North America. For those of us who were around during this time, or who have seen the English language adaptations of anime that were produced between the 90s and the 20-teens, we know that dubs were very rough back then.
But definitely with more of the anime that we saw adapted for children's programming, so like your Sailor Moon, your 4Kids stuff, like your Yu-Gi-Oh! Or your One Piece, etc. Yes, exactly. Those dubs were probably a little bit more higher quality, but if you look at things like, how do we dub Lucky Star? How do we dub a lot of these really niche otaku things and still do a good job?
I wonder why people call these things pochipakuro.
I know. Pochito means a tiny amount, and korepochi means a bit. It's a bag you put your loose change in.
Hey, Konata, can I borrow your computer for a second? I just remembered about this committee meeting that's coming up, and I need to write something for it. Yeah, sure. I'd like to get a bigger head start.
Western Japan calls it pochito, and korepochi is how you say it in Eastern Japan.
And I think that's where, at least in my generation, those 2000s, when those dubs started coming out, they were very expensive. They came out like 1 to 2 years after they came out in Japan, so we'd already basically seen them and heard the great Japanese voice acting. And then they were just really not good. So it was very easy to point out, oh, this dub's bad, oh, this dub's bad. Like, English dubbing, why would you even bother with it? We'll just stay with the subtitles.
Just watch me, Elle. I'll solve equations with my right hand and write names with my left. I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Long story short, English language anime dubs may have been rough around the edges in the 90s and 2000s, but over 2 decades has passed since then. While we still don't have nearly as much experience as dubbers in other parts of the world, the North American dubbing industry certainly has gained a lot of experience. And with that experience came an improvement in quality.
God!
Why are you a boxer?
You see, in Japanese, the word for pastor is...
Forgive me, Father, but I have slayed!
Part 2. Seiyuu versus American voice actors. In the 90s, I was obsessed with Japanese seiyuu. I shelled out over $60 to buy both of Hayashi Nobutoshi's solo albums because he provided the voice of my boyfriend, and I bought Koyasu Takeshito's solo album because... that voice. Iconic. About half the anime I got into in my early otaku days, I got into because certain seiyuu were in them. I got into Evangelion because Sailor Uranus and Sailor Moon's voice actors starred in it. I got into Oh My Goddess because Sailor Mercury's and Yui's voice actresses were in it. I even bought all the CDs without seeing the anime, just for their voices. I got into Vice Kreuz, a gritty, violent anime about assassins, and something I never would have watched otherwise, just because it had Koyasu Takeshito, Seki Tomokazu, Miki Shinichiro, and the other guy. I still didn't enjoy the anime too much, but oh my god, the music. Absolute bangers that I still enjoy nearly 3 decades later. Fuck, I'm old. I really bought into the idea that Japanese seiyuu were leagues above other voice actors. And in some ways, I wasn't wrong. Japanese seiyuu are indeed highly trained and more revered as celebrities than American voice actors. They're even more experienced. Names like Koyasu, Yamaguchi Tappei, Mitsui Shikotono, and Ogata Megumi, which were household names in the 90s, are still active today and sometimes reprise their old roles. Japanese seiyuu are also usually anime fans themselves, and they will read the manga of whatever anime they're in so they can provide a more faithful adaptation. So there's a real connection and trust between Japanese voice actors and Japanese anime fans, a connection and trust that extended to North American anime fans of the 90s and aughts. Now, by no means am I going to go into a Japanese seiyuu are bad, actually, tangent, but I am going to attempt to break the spell a little.
I finally get to use my theater degree!
So here's the thing about acting. Well, yes, a lot of good acting comes down to technique and training. What is perceived as good acting by you, the audience, is often subjective. It comes down to your personal preferences, your life experiences, and simply whether or not you believe the actor. If you come into a show with a bias against the voice actors, this is absolutely going to influence whether you believe those actors are really those characters. And if you come into a show having already heard the Japanese voice actors, their performances are absolutely going to influence your opinion of the English dub actors. Indeed, anime dub actors pre-20-teens were often not fans of anime, but today's English language dub actors are fans, and they take legacy seiyuu, the manga, and the fandom of their series into consideration in their performances. And Kayleigh McKee is one of them.
A lot of the old guard actors, you ask them like, oh, are they fans of this, like outside of their performances? And they'll be like, no, I've never watched an anime in my life. I just do them. But like a lot of us now have grown up on it, and that's why we got into it. And like these big anime, we read the manga on the side. But anyway, there was a spot because I'd read the manga, and multiple other actors in Jujutsu Kaisen have done this, where we know a line from the manga translation that was really popular online or just hit really, really good. And because of flaps or whatever, it'll be changed when we get in the booth, and we'll be like, hey, I really want to try to do this the way it is in the manga. So any way I can make those flaps work, I'd love to work with you on it to make that happen. And that works. Like that happens a couple of times. It happened with me at the end of season 2 of JJK, and it's super cool to sort of do that and have that part in it. It's kind of like we in the JJK cast set out to have a more accurate dub to the manga than the sub. And somebody literally commented that under an episode on Crunchyroll, and so I was just like, hell yeah, we did it.
Surprised? I don't seem like the power type, do I? Jujutsu sorcerers are ranked in grades from 4 to 1.
Yeah, but I only started at Jujutsu High School this week. I don't think I'm ranked yet.
Jujutsu には4から1の階級があんだよ。
でも僕、呪術高専来たばっかだし。そんなんないんじゃ。
Another gripe I used to have with anime dubs was I felt the acting was too exaggerated. But here's the thing about acting. There's different styles. You would not use the same heightened style of acting for a big stage musical that you would use for an art house film.
So what are you doing here?
A couple of things. Taking a break from my wife, forgetting my son's birthday.
Now prepare to serenade. Shh. Oh my God, you guys.
I just needed to see you.
Yeah?
I'd like to, take you out or something.
It needs glamour
and glitz. It needs sequins and tits.
Anime acting is also heightened, especially on the Japanese side, and there is a fine line between heightened, larger-than-life acting and melodramatic, bad acting.
2年前はてめえの妻を、そして今度は娘と犬を使って君らを錬成しやがった。
The Japanese seiyuu tend to straddle that line very well, and that style of acting is indeed more forgiving for the Japanese language, especially if you rely on subtitles to understand it. And this is a point that you're just going to have to trust me on, since the only way of knowing this for yourself is to become fluent in Japanese, but trust me. If you understood Japanese, the performances of the Japanese seiyuu would absolutely hit differently for you, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But yes, I agree that the acting style in English language anime dubs used to be a little too over the top. This mostly came down to a lack of experience, but according to voice actors I interviewed, and my own ears, the acting style in anime dubs has evolved over the years.
Like when we were young, anime performance was very hyper theatrical, like even more exaggerated than, at least on the level of animated performances at that time. And now I find that we are finally starting to narrow in on the elusive cinematic grounded reads for anime, where like when I started, the note was always project, project, project. And now there's a lot more flexibility in terms of the levels that you're hearing these characters perform like the intimacy, how quiet some of these performances can be. And that does make a huge difference, in my opinion.
Now give him your catchphrase!
No big deal. It was nothing.
That was perfect! Absolutely perfect, Shiro!
Hey, Schooled, you're here. I am. But did you know there's a strange man in your bathroom? Oh no, Keiichi!
You are the priestess of seiyuu, after all.
I'm not the priestess of seiyuu, Nakago! I never agreed to it and I won't now! Miyaka is my friend!
I thought you loved music.
I don't want to hear this crap anymore. What's the point if I can't play? All I can do is listen. I just...
Stay back. What is it?
There's a monster.
Well, defeat it then.
I don't know what or where it is, though.
What?
When Lyo starts acting like this, I think we should trust him.
I will not indulge baseless hunches. If it's hiding, we'll just drag it out.
Did you say kindness?
I did. I haven't seen a single face in this house with a dark expression since I arrived. And your mother is the one who protects this family. She's amazing.
Oh, man, that's low, even for those cuckoos.
And I will be the hawk that swoops in to seize the final sugary offering.
Shouldn't Yuki get at least some of his chocolates, though?
There are many in opposition within the military.
I see. Even so, this is the best way forward. So I want you to forge ahead anyhow. A terrible calamity is approaching.
Pardon? What have you seen? In your vision, Your Highness?
I gather that you have noticed my ambivalent state of mind.
It's different for every director. But, I mean, to speak to what Marin was saying, sometimes I get told to project less. Sometimes they're like, I do not know why the J is so projected there. We'll pull it back a bit. But at the same time, there's a lot of instances where I feel like it is a collaborative effort. You know, they trust my performance, or else they would not have hired me. And there will be times when it's like, oh, well, you know, the flaps don't fit here, or like this doesn't really fit the emotion of the scene. It's not true to the original like translation. And like I'll chime in with like, hey, what about this as an idea? And like half the time that'll be what goes in. And that's really cool.
I know for a couple of the shows that I worked on, some of the voice acting, like the casting we did in English, their voices weren't as high pitched. They were trying to make it a little bit friendlier for American audiences. And I actually felt that change not only made the characters seem a little bit closer to me and like, oh, hey, I don't have to explain why they're talking so high pitched, but it just made everything feel so much more accessible and so much more fun to watch.
So I hope I've encouraged you all to at least address your anti-dub bias and consider unpacking it a little. Dubs open you to enjoying anime on a whole new level. The lack of subtitles will free up your eyes to enjoy the spectacular sakuga. And hearing the words in your native language will make you connect with the story and the characters on a more emotional level. For these reasons, the best dub is always better than the best sub. That is a hill I will happily die on. But Sarah, I hear you say, this theoretical dub you're talking about sounds great and all, but what about in practice? Are today's anime dubs actually that good? Part 3. Dubs are better now. I asked everyone I interviewed if they thought anime dubs were better than they were before, and all 3 said yes. When I asked them to explain why anime dubs are better now, I found a common thread. The fans.
Take my revolution!
The more popular anime got, the more fans worked in the industry, the more experience those fans got working in the industry, the better anime localizations were overall, including dubs.
And at that time, actors were very much like, okay, this anime stuff, I don't get it. Like, nobody was getting into anime because they liked it. They got into anime because they weren't really hitting it off in other markets. So they sort of fell into anime.
During the 2010s, anime rose in popularity and more dubs were being produced. But the real boom came in 2020 with COVID.
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is that, especially in the last 5 years, it has really been noticed how big anime has gotten here, and how lucrative it is. And so they are putting a lot more effort into, you know, the funding for animation and, you know, actors and things like that in certain places, on certain shows, and the ones that they do, it really shows. And then the biggest side effect of that is like having a show where we're not being rushed forward line, like we can only try 2 or 3 takes and then we got to move on, blast through it. I mean, hopefully it's going like that anyway, right? But you want the time to slow down and for the director to be considerate and do their job and direct you. And so really, you know, actors are taking more note of how popular this is. Studios are taking note of how popular this is, and hopefully the trend continues that we're able to keep that quality up and they don't try to cut corners.
There was an enormous growth in dubbing investments during the pandemic that has since evaporated. And yeah, there was like, it was so weird because we had this amazing heyday, I want to say, from like 2020, the end of 2020 through like maybe 2023, maybe 2022. But it was that period of time where like, and this is my projection, but I feel as though a lot of big clients were not able to create content the way they were used to. On-camera production was shut down. And so because of that, they were looking to find something they could release to keep their numbers up during these quarters wherein they couldn't produce content at the same level they were before. And so that's where dubbing came in, because dubbing is so fast, I mean, quote unquote fast, it's not like a 2-year pipeline.
Yeah, it's not like making a show from scratch.
Yeah. It is, it's much faster and it's much cheaper. Like, you know, I've heard budgets as low as $6,000 an episode for a dub, which is insane.
But this boom was a bit of a double-edged sword. Now that anime is much more popular, there is a lot more money to put into it, but there's also a lot of greedy, soulless suits at the top who don't understand anime and don't respect the intelligence or taste of their viewership, and there's a bigger talent pool of people passionate about anime to exploit.
And nowadays, people flock to this work because of anime, largely. I was part of that first wave of actors in the early aughts that was like, I am a fan of this and I want to be a part of it. Nowadays, like, we see that so much, and I think that's why we've seen such an aggressive dip in the amount, not the amount of money that is being paid a lot of these professionals in all parts of the pipeline because of that enthusiasm. In game dev, they call it a passion tax, or I've heard it in that space anyway.
Another challenge to producing modern anime dubs is the simuldubbing system. Modern audiences have become primed to expect instant gratification. We demand English versions of our anime come out the exact same time they come out in Japan. Because there are so many moving parts, it is simply not possible to release dubs the same week the episodes are released in Japan, and for some anime fans, this is already a deal breaker. Still, dub watchers only have to wait 1 extra week rather than the extra year or 5 they had to wait in ye olden days. But this speed comes with a price. I've translated anime for simulcast, and the schedule can be very demanding. The shortest turnaround time I had to translate an episode was less than 24 hours, and let me tell you, that was not my best work. The mechanisms have gotten a bit more efficient in recent years, and translators usually have at least a week to translate an episode for the subtitled version of an anime, but for a dub, you need the actors to record the lines, and you need the engineers to put everything together. And scripts for dubs are not the same thing as scripts for subs. With dubbing, you need to consider lip flaps and timing. You need to include non-dialogue vocalizations like grunts and screams and laughter, and you need to include vocal direction and descriptions for your actors. While script adaptation does not necessarily require knowledge of Japanese, it does require some very niche writing skills. One of the anime Marin most recently wrote the adaptation for was Season 1 of Ranma 1/2, which was simuldubbed through Netflix. I asked them to walk me through the process.
So when it comes to the simuldub schedule, it depends on what state you're working out of. I know in Texas, I've heard that they have timelines as short as 24 hours, and if you can get it done that fast in terms of the adaptation, you will get a bonus. The likelihood of that getting done that fast is pretty damn low, because 24 hours, you want to figure each script is about, on average, 450 loops. Now, I'll be honest, Ranma had a lot of characters in it, and was also a comedy, so that tends to up the amount of loops. I was time coding and writing about 700 loops per episode on that show, and I had a week to format the scripts and write them and submit them. That is not the case in Texas, as far as I understand.
Here we go! Akane and Ranma are now on the ice. Their entrance is absolutely stunning. Yeah, both pairs are off to a smooth start. The footing gun team releases a death spiral kick.
You look particularly cute today. Over here in LA, we fight pretty damn hard to try and not have those sorts of turnarounds, depending on the location. Obviously, studio by studio is very different, is a very different ball game. But for the most part, my personal experience is I don't agree to anything less than 5 days if you want me to time code and to write. But I have turned scripts around in as little as 3 days. King and Ashura was 3 days.
So the way I see it, anime dubs have improved a lot over the past few decades, and we have a great opportunity to keep improving upon them. But corporate greed and our culture of "I want it now" and "workers be damned" stands in the way.
I'm very proud of the work that I've done as a union organizer, because when I started working in this space, there were no anime dubs that were union. Like, you could literally count them on one hand, and you knew which ones they were because Crispin Freeman or Steve Bloom were in them. Like, that's how you knew, okay, this is a union dub, Steve Bloom is in it, he doesn't do non-union. And nowadays, obviously, it's much harder to tell because a lot more people work off card. People aren't really trying to hide that they do it so much. But the interesting thing that I love is, so when I started organizing with Coda, we ran the numbers, and we found that, I want to say in 2016, there were 14 total anime dubs done union, period. And in 2021, I think the number was, that number was like 30 short of 400. It's so much because we went from 400 people making union wages off this work to 2,500. And when we started, like, people told us that would never happen. Ultimately, for the people who have union representation, we're still working on engineers. But for the actors, like, we have really objectively improved things. And I think that reflects in the product.
The studio execs that are looking at the money that anime is making and wondering why we're not shoving celebrity names in there should rather take the money that they were prepared to spend on a celebrity and give it to the people that are already making it great and causing this anime to make $1 billion. If you do that, the dubs will continue to get better. Putting in people who have no experience at dubbing at all and trying to, thinking that it's going to make money on name recognition alone is not going to make dubs better. And in fact, the anime industry, the anime fans will show you instead their ire, right? Like, just take the money that you were willing to spend on that and spend it on the people already making it good, and we'll make it even better.
They're not paying us enough. These corporations have swooped into a boutique niche industry and started applying Amazon pricing to incredibly skilled niche labor. And it's an insult. They want to pay Ritz Crackers price for a filet mignon and then give us no time to do it and then blame us. And I mean, you've caught me at a very interesting time in my career because, frankly, I have started turning down adaptation work because I became too exhausted from the amount of abuse.
Now, as somebody who works in the industry as a translator, I have to chime in with my 2 cents here on the pay issue. I have beaten this drum before many times, much at my own risk, by the way. People deserve to be compensated aptly for their expertise and their labor. That alone shouldn't be a point I have to defend. But even if you don't care about localization professionals, even if you think we shouldn't care about money and we should all just be doing this for the love of anime, let me explain why paying the workers more and maybe waiting a little bit longer for your anime to come out actually results in a better product for you, the fan. It is not the case that we intentionally do a worse job when we're paid less. When we're paid less, that means we need to do the job faster to make room in our schedule for more work so we can have enough money to pay our bills and survive. And if we have to work faster and take on many different projects to survive, that invites more opportunities for errors or lapses in judgment. It also means we don't have the time to double-check our work or workshop certain key lines of dialogue to make sure they're as smooth and as authentic to the source material as possible. I can't tell you how many times I have had a sudden epiphany in the shower or on a walk or in the middle of the night of how I should have translated a line of anime dialogue 3 days after I already submitted this script. Good art and good storytelling cannot and should not be rushed. Also, please remember that if you see figures for how much money a union dub actor makes per hour or how much money a translator or script adapter makes per script, and if you think those figures are quite high, remember that most of us are freelance. We need higher pay to compensate for higher taxes, healthcare costs we have to pay out of pocket, and to tide us over in between gigs. People sticking around is what makes the industry better. This is true of translators, script adapters, directors, actors, everybody. I've been translating entertainment professionally for 20 years now, and I continue to get better with each passing year. While yes, we do need new blood and new ideas to help move the industry forward, we also desperately need to retain our old talent so that we can grow from that foundation of experience to continue to make dubs and subs better and better. If we aren't paid enough, many of us will move on to other work that pays better or is more consistent. Not because we're greedy, because we need to eat and not be homeless. And on that note, if you want to help me stay afloat in between translation gigs, consider joining this channel as a member. I'm going to start uploading occasional bonus videos, starting with the extended versions of the interviews I did for this video. If you're interested in learning Japanese, check out my sister channel, Sarah Moon Japanese. I have a library of over 200 videos that teach beginning through advanced Japanese in a variety of styles. Also, check out my Ko-fi. I offer affordable study guides for beginning and intermediate level Japanese that are over 100 pages long, as well as other miscellaneous goodies. I'm also a novelist. Book 1 of my series is going to come out later this year, so follow or support me on Patreon to stay in the loop for that. Okay, now that I successfully did a capitalism, let's finish this video.
I would say that what fans can do is if they don't like something, like let's say if you happen to be angry or happen to notice a change in quality from, let's say, Ranma Season 1 to Season 2, purely non-specific example. If you notice a difference in quality between those two seasons, I want you to call it out. Because we have executives look us in the face all the time and tell us that our work does not matter. And they don't care, and that you will accept whatever slop they put in front of you. Is that true? I'm asking you, listener. I don't believe it is.
No.
Not our fans.
When you mess with our fans,
we need to make it hurt.
I think that the anime fandom is built on the passion that we as a community have for that art form. Like, I mean, God, Anime Expo grew into this enormous behemoth giant because of fandom. And anime is as successful as sports in the United States, according to some reporters, because of us. And I think there's a lot of power that lies unrecognized there.
At least give it a shot for the really good action anime and for the really emotional anime, because then you can free up your eyes to watch the animation and watch the action and watch the emotions on their faces and find, new things to appreciate about it. If you live in the places that these dub actors live, the same countries or whatever, it gives you a unique way to interact with the community, because seiyus aren't brought over here very often, and you can meet us at conventions and just talk like for free. That's really fun and cool, and I know that that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about it, getting to meet other people in this community that I grew up in and like have fun with it and like have the camaraderie of being fans of it and of animation. And so if you give dubs a try and you like it, come up to our table at a convention and say hi.
I think we can be more nuanced as anime fans as we're coming into this new almost era of anime popularity where people are watching more anime. It's all over the place. You can go to anime nights at freaking baseball stadiums and hockey games. Like, there's never been a better time to be into anime than right now, and we are so lucky to be living in this moment. That, absolutely. Watch dubs, watch subs. If you find a dub you really like, make sure you put it out there that you really like it, because companies love feedback. And it's that feedback, it's that, again, looking back at European history. Those first couple dubs back in the 1930s and 40s were not that good, but over time they got better and better because of audience feedback, because more and more people were watching them. So I think as we start entering into the second half of the 2020s, going into the 2030s, anime dubbing is going to be on a level of quality we've never seen before, and I'm really excited to see where it goes.
This is exhilarating. Get excited.
So there it is, my case for anime dubs. If you want my personal recommendations, the Dr. Stone dub is a great adaptation with a great cast, and I think it's a great anime to start for the dub curious.
So what kind of girls do you like?
The kind that can pump a ton of oxygen into my furnace.
What kind of answer is that?
I've also particularly enjoyed the English dubs of Spy Family, Delicious in Dungeon, Dandadan, and Free Run, and the English dub of the first season of Ranma 1/2 is indeed very good.
Shampoo, stop this!
I need...
Just hang on a second! You promised! You said you wouldn't hurt Akane!
Remove the obstacle. It's the natural order of things.
Big thank you to Marin, Kayleigh, and Katrina for agreeing to be interviewed for this video. I learned a lot, and it's always fun to talk shop with fellow industry people. There was so much great stuff from their interviews that I couldn't fit into this video, so do become a channel member for extended versions of those interviews. And if you want to learn more about anime dubs, I highly recommend the channel The Cartoon Cipher. Since y'all seem to enjoy resurrecting dead YouTube channels, I just thought I'd give them a shout out. That's all for now, and see you next time.